Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
Every part of comics and artwork is a form of communication with other people. It's not just here, let me direct my thoughts at you as a dictation of concept, but it's hoping to convince you of how cool you think a visual could be or a story could be. And you're trying to communicate ideas in one part storytelling and greater part just graphic impact. You're hoping to relate a sense of energy, urgency, and enthusiasm to people. That there's a lightning of spirit that comes out of superheroes that has always worked for me. That it isn't really about the practicality of what they might do. It's not the practicality about grown men punching each other in costumes. It really isn't about that. It's a visual metaphor. And that metaphor could be for a lot of things, but it's mostly just about the energy and enthusiasm that can be found in the fun of life.
Welcome back, everybody. Oh, I'm glad you like it, Ramon.
That's an amazing opening.
William Meyer, a buddy that made that for me in 2013. And I'm like, God, I wish I did more video so I could show that. And ever since the pandemic, I started using it and stuff. And it's such a great montage and a good representation of what we try to do here. Welcome, everybody. Word Balloon Live. John Suntress here. Ramon Perez here. Great to see you, man. How you been?
You as well. I'm being great, actually. It's been a fantastic year, and I'm just excited about a lot of things right now. So it's a good year.
Yeah. Hey, rightfully so. We're going to talk about Clateau or Clateau?
Klaatu.
Just Klaatu. Like yeah. Did the ear stick still. I'm an idiot. It's the latest anthology from Raid Studio, Volume 4.
It is, yeah. It's live right now on Kickstarter, and we've been doing them since 2017, and they're a lot of fun. So yeah, happy to talk about it in a little bit.
Absolutely. I got to throw this up because truly it's one purchase I made from you, and it's truly my favorite print that I don't even know if you still sell it or not anymore.
Oh yeah, no, I had this was a great piece I did for Chicago Comic Con back, must have been, I want to say 2019 or 2018, and it was part of a Loot Crate box set, I think, available at the C2E2 show. Yeah, that's one of my favorite pieces I've done too. I love jazz and I love the X-Men, so it's just like mash these two together, and I'm a happy camper. Yeah.
Kind of Storm as Billie Holiday, and you could say Wolverine's kind of Miles Davis and everything.
Oh, 100%. And one of my favorite things about going to Chicago during C2E2 is actually hitting a couple of the jazz nightclubs while there, like Kingston Mines and a few other places. And
did you go to the Green Mill?
I don't think I've been there, but
all right. Next time you're in town, man, seriously, we got to go there.
Okay.
It's a real historic place.
Okay.
And it was one of those, like, it goes back to the Capone era. And the great thing is, and I don't know if they walled it off in subsequent years, but underground there was a tunnel that led across the street so that if there was a raid, the gangsters could go in the back, go down the tunnel, and appear across the street and run away. And there were two literally rooms in that underground tunnel area that they would hide a marked guy that maybe was, wanted and had to lay low. And they were like these like kind of bedroom sized rooms that these people could like stay and hang out in and stuff. So yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, I love that kind of stuff. I love that kind of urban history too. That's amazing. Yeah, definitely take you up on that. No, wonderful.
Excellent, man. Absolutely. And hey, so Raid is celebrating its 20th anniversary, your studio.
Yeah, it's it makes you feel old when someone, 20 years. I've been part of it now. It must have been 17 years. It was started by Chip Zdarsky and a few friends back in 2002, and they invited me in, and my career just ended up, going places just because of the, you work in isolation as an artist a lot of the time and different things, and when you just become part of a network of other creatives. And back then there was no internet or very little of one, you know what I mean? And and it was just nice to have that community to be part of it. And yeah, it's been crazy. That's been 20 years. Something that started with 4 people now has like 20 members. And we have a gallery and a cafe now. It's a crazy, wonderful space to.
Oh, that's amazing. Wait a minute. Tell me about the cafe. Are you like literally like,
yeah. So
business to the public and everything?
Yeah. So just prior to the pandemic, we had to leave our original building. We were there for whatever it was, 16 or 15 years. And it was like, we were on the 3rd story, brownstone. It was really nice, very private. But when we went to leave, we found this great space on Queen Street, which is one of the main streets in Toronto. And it has street front access. So it's a massive space, like 5,000 square feet.
Wow.
And so we made the first 1,000 in the front, an art gallery that features sequential art and pop culture artwork, basically. We try to kind of share what comics are through our front space.
Sure.
And we have a cafe there just so people come in, they grab a coffee, they look around, and they see some art, and they're like, what's this? This is interesting. And we have a bit of a retail, which we sell our books that we do, or any of the creator-owned books that our team here does. So, or even community, like other artists in the Toronto community, we've carried their books and put it out there. So it's great. And we're really excited because next week or 2 weeks from now, we have a Toronto Comic Con is happening, and I don't know if you know Sean Crystal.
Of course.
He's going to be our next gallery show. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah, so we're going to be featuring a lot of his originals, and they are fantastic. So.
Is he hitting up all of you for his podcast to do?
I've been on his podcast a few times over the years. I love Sean. I love chatting with him. We have a very similar kind of vibe, and I just love chatting. So, yeah, and I'll happy to be on it again. Actually, I think while he's up here, we're going to film some stuff for his instructional videos that he's doing now as well. So, yeah, he's going to come here for the show and for the gallery exhibit, but he'll be here for another week after that. So we get to show him around the city, have some nice dinners, some drinks, and then, do up some more video casting.
That's great, man. Well, Ink Pulp Media, everybody. That's
Yeah.
That's Sean's podcast outlet, and of course, as I always like to point out, Ramon is a Mercury astronaut in the field of podcasting. That's how I always put it in.
I love that.
If you were doing it in 04 or 05, you're OG. That's the beginning, and it's funny you say 17 years because that's when I started Word Balloon. It'll be May 10th. Will be my 17th anniversary. But before Word Balloon, you and Carl Kerschel and others were doing the Horrorcast.
Yeah, I was part of that a couple of times. It was actually run by Carl and Brendan.
Okay.
But I got invited on a couple of times there. And once again, being part of a community and being part of these early steps, whether it was the podcasting, the web comics back then, it was like the Wild West of the internet kind of thing.
So, absolutely.
Anything went, and people were just doing whatever they could to get on there. It was so much fun.
I mean, again, thank God technology has really allowed us all to put our shit out there. And if, in my case, if a broadcaster didn't care about what I was doing, I had the internet. If you guys, couldn't find a publisher, you'd make a web comic and everything.
Well, that's exactly it, Yeah. We back then we started something called Transmission X around 2006 or 7, I think it was, and it caused quite the excitement because we were the first. It was myself, Carl Kerschel, Cameron Stewart, Calvin Andrzejowski, and several others, and we were all doing webcomics for the first time. So it was kind of a flip, and unfortunately back then right now you have so many things at your disposal to monetize webcomics, create books through like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, all that stuff. And that's the stuff we needed back then, but we didn't have it. So we tried to survive, and it was just a little bit too difficult. And But now it's fast forward 15 years later, whatever it is, it's nice to actually have that stuff here to be able to connect with your audience like one on one, like you do, like we do with our stuff, and really just do what we want to do, which is just create comics at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And truly, there are a lot of platforms that make it easier for us. You mentioned crowdfunding things, but even just basic things. God, I don't know. Did you see Amazon's big announcement that they've got? Do you know about Clubhouse, Ramon?
No, I don't know what that is. No.
Clubhouse is a closed circuit audio platform for people to get together and have big talks. In fact, God, I was a fly on the wall when Sean was moderating a talk on Clubhouse about NFTs.
Oh, okay.
Pros and cons of NFTs, and it was an amazing discussion.
Yeah,
So glad, and I just listened. It was incredible.
Yeah.
But anyway, like Clubhouse, Amazon has created this audio kind of platform, and it's called AMP. And along with just having conversation, they also allow you to DJ with commercial music. So you can set up a playlist of hits, and if you ever
weird
DJ, you can do it. And I know it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very interesting. And to be honest, I don't know if you knew this. I'm in the midst of, alongside Word Balloon, I'm going to make a Monkees documentary. The band.
Oh wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, and I can't on the regular podcast platform. Play the music because I'd have to at least license the rights.
Yeah.
However, AMP has this amazing thing, and I can and I see it as kind of a place to kind of put supplemental information.
Yeah.
Refer to the podcast, and if you want the big podcast, go here to hear it.
Okay.
But in the meantime, here's some Monkees songs that kind of involve some of the subjects that we're talking about.
Oh, that's wonderful. You got a listener right here because I grew up on the Monkees. Last Trains of Clarksville is one of my favorites, and I often cite the movie Head as one of my inspirations for Tale of Sand. So absolutely,
and yes, and in fact, that was the subject of our first conversation.
Yeah. Back in the
absolutely. and I'm so glad you said that about Head, because we're even going to spend just an entire episode examining the movie, and it's amazing. Did you see Lady Bird, the movie that was up for Oscars a couple years ago?
No, I haven't.
Greta Gerwig was the filmmaker.
Yeah.
And she took, I can never remember the title of the song, but it's that song in Head, and it's the Monkees when they were on that snowy mountain.
Yeah,
and
okay, yeah.
Very tranquil song.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so great because so many people are like, wow, that's an amazing song. Who is that? And it's like, guess what? That's the Monkees. And compare it to like all the bubble gum that we love and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, as they got control over their own music, their music got really interesting. I mean, the critics support it, and the teeny boppers didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I just think they did. They got really interesting musically, and certainly Head was a good example of that.
Oh yeah, no, they were great. And I remember like later on, I think they were hanging out with the Beatles and jamming and stuff like that. No, I followed them for years and I love the stuff they did. And yeah, it's interesting starting off as like basically a production band and then evolving with their own voice, which is, amazing. So yeah. No, that's cool, man. I look forward to hearing more about that.
Oh, thanks, man. Excellent. Now here, let me bring up I'm going to bring up this great little flash thing that you do that shows examples from Klaatu. Hold on. Am I saying Klaatu right, or am I being an asshole?
Klaatu. It's like Klaatu Barada Nikto.
Yeah, Klaatu Barada Nikto. Exactly.
Yeah. From the day the earth stood still, basically.
100%.
Yeah.
So here's the look. Everyone could just kind of see the examples of art
that
are in Volume 4 here of
Yes.
Word. Yeah. And as they flash through here and everything, your story is Air. There it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And Air is tell us about Air.
It's just basically I use these anthologies. So I've done a story in every volume, and you work on monthly books or other graphic novels for other people, and you kind of get all these ideas just pent up. And I use these anthologies as a way to kind of just test out different short stories, different things. Some things are just they live and die here, and other times, like the one I did for Volume 1, I've actually been writing it into a larger graphic novel, which I hope to get to next year. But Air is just basically came out of the pandemic and all the all the news and social media we were inundated with, and for a while you didn't know what to believe, what's true, what's false. Did it come from a lab? Did it come from a bat? So basically, I used this astronaut trapped on a planet as kind of a vessel for this kind of story. It's kind of me going through the emotional turmoil of the pandemic through this character as she decides what are the right choices to basically allow her to survive this situation she's in, and what to believe, basically. So it's an interesting mental exercise to kind of go through this story, I kind of leave the ending a little bit ambiguous. You don't really know what the right choice is, but it was really fun to do, and it's great. Like the book has been funded on the campaign, which is wonderful, and now we're just hoping to raise more funds to make the book better. Better paper, better printing quality, nicer, embellishments on the cover, whatever it might be. That's the great thing about these platforms. You price it out, and you're like, okay, I need 10 to 15K to print the book, and make sure everybody gets a little bit of a slice of the pie, and then anything else after that, you can just embellish it and make it a really nice coffee table edition that people can enjoy.
Yeah, trick up the book. Why?
Yeah, no, I mean I feel like in today's day and age where everything is online, books need to be just like prettier things. And especially if they're art books, art related, just like have something that's gonna like really have the artwork sing.
I always quote Jason Wood of 11 O'Clock Comics, and he's like, "No, books should be shelf porn."
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like, man, you really need to be proud of it, and absolutely be sexy enough to buy it and everything. So no, I get it. I absolutely get it.
Yeah, no, and I have to, like some books I just look at and. Whether they're like the large, artist editions, which are just like the sexiest porn you can have on your shelf, or things like Asterios Pollitt from Mazzucchelli, which is like cool cardboard cover and just simple colors and stuff like that. No, it's such a unique medium to print. I mean, and just to do what we can with it. It's like
have you done Jim Rugg's show yet? Cartoon?
Kayfabe? No, I'd love to. I've been listening to it, and I'm not sure how caught up you are, but I was listening to their reading of the deposition between Gaiman and McFarlane, and I was like, wow,
they're hilarious.
Oh my god, I love those guys are great.
And both Jim and Ed are Jim Rugg and Ed Pisker for listeners. They're really the care they put into their own creator-owned stuff. And the different levels of where they go to trick up their stuff and everything is amazing. And I am an unabashed fan of what they do. I think I'm really glad they're there and part of the podcast conversation. Truly.
Yeah, no, they're great. They have a great sensibility. They're exposing people to a lot of great books and things that have kind of from the past couple decades. So it's really amazing, and just the interviews too with a lot of the artists and the shoot interviews they do.
Yes,
are fantastic.
They just said Brubaker.
Yeah, I have that one bookmarked. I just watched the one with Walt Simonson the other day as I was catching up and doing some work here. So yeah, no, they're fantastic.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've got 3 weeks left in the campaign.
We do, yeah. The end of the month, basically, yeah. So we funded it within 7 hours, which was fantastic. And now it's just using the rest of the month to make this book as good as we can. We have a lot of great artists in it. We got Hoche Anderson, we got Derek Loffman, we got Scott Hepburn doing the cover. Who else we got here? We got so many names. I'm blanking right now.
I can't even hear. I'm going to scroll because again, if everyone goes to the Kickstarter page, well, Derek Loffman and Dax Gordine.
Oh, Dax Gordine, yeah, and Eric Vedder, Sheldon Carter, one of the creators of Warframe. And the cool thing is, we have a lot of creators who maybe the comics aren't their main gig or their main thing, so they're not quite known on the comic scene, but they love to dabble in the art form, so it's something they do part-time. So we have a lot of game designers, other storytellers from like film and other mediums that kind of use this as a way to kind of just tell a unique story. So we have some TV writers as well, people who work in animation. So it's a nice, robust talent set. That
Well, and yeah, that's why I'm happy to show some of the pages.
yeah.
And again, it's so impressive, man. Truly,
Oh, thanks.
different styles
Yeah.
of art and story writing and telling and everything, and it's no, man, it's very cool. And also, I guess, in addition to get volume 4, you're making the first 3 volumes of your anthologies available.
Yeah, so we self-funded those ones when we did them, which was a learning curve of its own because it's a different process.
Sure.
But yeah, we're putting them out there. So basically, people can grab all 4 volumes. The first 3 are already printed. It's just stock we have on hand. And, and once again, you have people like Francis Manipal, Atanchi Zanjic, Marcus Toe, Cameron Stewart. Who else we got in there? We got, Nimit Malavia, Tri Vuong, and Irma Navilla, who just had a new graphic novel released from Skybound. So you just have such a variety of people. So yeah, there's I think almost 60 stories in hand overall, 4 volumes. So people will get a nice variety. Some stories are 6 pages. Other stories are up towards 20 pages. So really, you're almost getting full comics inside an anthology at some points as well, right? So, and I just love the variety of style. I've always been a big fan of anthologies growing up, like Dark Horse Presents or
going back to DC and Marvel and Tales of the Unexpected and
Marvel Fanfare. Even when I was a kid, I loved that. Was more little side stories. I think they had A1 from Atomica Press. I don't know if you remember them.
Oh yeah.
And even things like Rubber Blanket from Mazzucchelli as well. Like all this stuff. That's the stuff I ate up because it was such a variety as a kid. So I was there's a curse. People always say anthologies don't sell. I'm like, yeah, but I think they do. You just have to do them right and get the good stuff out there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
No, and again, so many great people have come through Raid and everything.
Oh yeah, we've had over our 20 years, we've had such a dynamic roster of creators. Some people stay for like me forever, and then you have other guys like Carl Kerschel, who came with us for a couple of years. Ken Lashley stopped by for a few years and joined us. Carrie Nord, so many different person. Even Paul Ravoche from Mr. X fame joined the studio for a year or 2.
Wow.
So we have had so many personalities over the years. It's crazy because as a guy who, I've been working freelancing now for 25 years, but probably in comics, like officially comics, if you will, maybe about 15 years, 16 years. And a lot of these people that came through the studio after I joined were people I looked up to. So it was just a fascinating to be part of that collective and see guys like Paul Ravoche, who I met and whose stuff I enjoyed as I was a teenager back when I first started collecting comics. So it's just a really cool place where you can learn from your peers, but also learn from the new people coming in, younger artists who are tackling things a little bit differently and engaging, working more digitally or whatever it might be. You're constantly learning and becoming just a better creator when you're surrounded by other talented people. So it's great for us to put out these books just to kind of showcase the people we have here and also friends of the studio who we work with and collaborate with. Because sometimes I find comics is one of those interesting mediums where there's a lot of people who want to do them, but they're so hard to get into and get exposure in sometimes that it can be an uphill battle and sometimes a big deterrent to a lot of creators. And I know myself, it probably took me 10 years to break in.
Wow.
And but I worked in other places. I was a bit of a stubborn guy. I didn't like jumping through hoops, and stuff. So they would be like, well, could you, I'd send in sci-fi samples to Marvel. They'd be like, oh, we don't know you got to draw Spider-Man samples. I'm like, I ain't got the time for Spider-Man samples, so I'd go work on something else for another client, whatever. And, and then I do Tale of Sand, which has nothing to do with superheroes, and Marvel calls. So, it's just the whole catch-22 of, we won't pay attention to you until you're published sometimes. And, so I like to give that opportunity to young creators as well through the anthologies, give them an opportunity to showcase, instruct their stuff, and get it out there.
Is
You
that
know,
your capacity as creative director of the studio? Is that, I mean,
yeah.
what is that? How describe the position?
Well, to a degree, I guess to a degree. Over the years, like I said, I came in around 2006 to Raid, and around 2009-10, I ended up taking over because a lot of the original members left. I was kind of like the oldest kid on the block,
Sure.
and so I was just running finances. I was doing all that stuff, and but then as the studio grew over the years to the point where we had up towards 20 members, we began getting interesting calls like from we get Warner Brother Games call up and go, hey, can you do some concept work for us? Or we'd have TV shows asking us to storyboard or do art for commercials.
Yeah.
And they're approaching us as Raid. So someone had to kind of take the lead on that. And I was kind of like, well, I guess, this is exciting. This is interesting. So I took it upon myself to kind of start curating these larger client jobs and operating what we do here as an agency almost, because we have so many diverse talents here that if a client comes in and says, hey, I need a commercial done, we want this kind of art style, or maybe cinematography, do you have a filmmaker on hand, do you have a storyboarder? I'm like, yes. I'll just handpick people from the studio, whoever's available, and we'll go ahead and do these kind of jobs. So it actually is great because we do those kind of jobs, and that helps fund the studio, which then helps fund projects like the Raid Anthology, where we, like I said, we self-funded those. So I would do these jobs, take 10 or 15 grand from that job, dump it into creating a book or whatever it might be, right? So it's an interesting, it's kind of like it's like a weird triangle of things happening here.
Yeah.
So I pretty much, as I call it, managing director is a fancy term. I like to call it herding cats.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I just organize the chaos is what I do basically.
Yeah.
Make sure the bills get paid and everybody's happy in their spaces, basically, and working away.
All that's important, and I mean, it also affords the less business-minded people you have to focus on making the donuts rather than how to pay for the donuts. So yeah,
exactly, and that's the other cool thing too. Like we actually help people out with, we have accountants on hand. So if there's a new freelancer, they'll be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, here, we got an accountant. He'll help you out. He can, write things off for you. He'll show you how to do your books properly and all that stuff. So it's just a great way to just help each other out, because we all doing the same thing here at the end of the day. So if I know a guy that can help you out, then I'll gladly hook you up and make your life a little bit easier. Basically.
I might be calling you. Don't kid yourself. I diversify. Believe me, I might be calling you, man. So that's.
Oh man.
But well, and also now again, we said before you got it with Raid, you were doing web comics and stuff.
Yeah.
And are you repackaging one of your old web comics?
Yeah. Well, it's like one of those things. Like comics, I went on I would say I went on a journey after Tale of Sand, because Tale of Sand offered me such opportunity. Won the Eisner, and just got eyes on me for a while, and I got to do X-Men, Hawkeye, Captain America, Spider-Man, fantastic. Like I got to work on all the big characters, and which was a lot of fun.
Sure.
But to be honest, I started out as a guy doing web comics and indie stuff, and that's where my heart kind of lies. And while the journey of the past decade has been amazing, no complaints whatsoever. I put out some of my best work over the years. I feel like now it's a time I'm kind of returning back to the beginning and wanting to put out the stuff that I've worked on now and put out there. So yeah, Cuckoo Brewery is an Alice in Wonderland kind of story that I did back in the 2007 and ran it till about 2012, and then I updated sporadically over the years as basically life took over. Basically, I'm working when you're working for Marvel or all these other clients, and you're buying a house. The bills are piling up. You're like, okay, money, you got to pay the bills, right? So that kind of took precedence, and my own creator-owned stuff kind of just got shelved for the time being. But Cuckoo Brewery and a few of the other things I'm working on are things that have been kind of sitting on the back burner, and I just want to put them out there. So I'll be launching some Kickstarters for my own project in April. I think April 8th. I'm not sure of the exact date, or maybe 18th. I'm not sure. And yeah, packaging it up and actually finishing a story I never finished. So the book was supposed to be 900 pages originally, and I'm about 200 pages in, so I got a few years left of work ahead of me. But I love every second of it. So what I'm going to do is package it in chapters, and every year do a chapter of the book, and hopefully hopefully something like Kickstarter and the fan base out there can afford me the opportunity to do that. I've seen great guys like Carl Kerschel and Carrie Nord succeed wonderfully with these endeavors, and put out their own stuff and allow them to do their own thing. So, now's the best time. It's a now or never scenario. So I'd rather try and hopefully succeed. But if I fail, at least I tried. That's my motto. No regrets, basically. So yeah.
I don't blame you. You got a great following, and I'm sure that when you announce it and everything, that people will come and
hopefully, yeah,
you out. Absolutely,
yeah.
That's terrific. Hey, let's go back and talk about Tale of Sand.
Yeah, for sure.
That was my first exposure to your stuff, and man, remind people and really take us to the beginning. It was an adaptation of sorts. And I'll let you tell the story and tell the names and everything. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so Tale of Sand, that was an interesting opportunity that came along where I was asked to adapt a lost Jim Henson screenplay that he and Jerry Jewell, his writing partner, wrote back. I think it was like late 60s, 67, I think. And basically they wrote the screenplay, and it was very much in the vein of, like I said earlier, the Monkey's Head movie or... Yellow Submarine, that whole kind of era of films that there's these like weird musical thought experiments. I'm not sure how to categorize these films.
Yeah,
but
the shorthand is obviously because it was of that era. Just psychedelic kind
of
thinking that really applied itself to art. And as you say, Head and Yellow Submarine are great examples.
Yeah, exactly. And you had but I guess. No one wanted to bite. Basically, they looked at it. They were like, "This is either going to cost us too much, or it's too weird, or whatever it was." So it got shelved basically, and then his career took off with the Muppets.
Yeah, this is right. This is pre Sesame Street.
Oh yeah.
And it's because he had the Muppets, and he was using the Muppets on TV and in commercials.
Mm-hmm.
And Ralph the dog from the Muppets was a regular on Jimmy Dean's variety show and everything, and they'd have comedy segments with Ralph.
Exactly.
But that said, and I love this because it really, Tale of Sand made me look at Henson's live action film work that he made.
Yeah.
And really, man, if we only know him from the Muppets, you're not doing the man justice, because he really was a Walt Disney on his own in terms of not only making great animation and the puppets and everything, but making these amazing conceptual movies. Time Stopper or something like that.
Oh yeah, there was a Timepiece.
I think you're right. I think it is Timepiece. Yes.
Which I think was nominated for an Oscar. I think it was a short he did, and it was funny because I was only aware of him through his later stuff, like the Muppets, Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
And so when I was introduced to this, I was like, what the hell? I read the script, and I was like, this is just the most bizarre thing I've ever read. And once I got the job, there's Karen Falk, who is the Henson family or studio archivist based in New York. She basically sent me all these DVDs just full of his experimental early work where he was in college, doing like really short musical videos with paper animation, things you would see later on in like Sesame Street, where the pinball would go down underneath, and you'd have all these weird things happen with. But anyways, I was overjoyed and being a fan of his, and I just dove into this thing and took the screenplay and began to chop it down into a graphic novel, basically, and it was a heady process. You really start to get in there, and after seeing so many of his early films, I felt like he was one of my editor, Stephen Christie, would often joke. He'd be like, Jim's watching over us here, and maybe it was true, because I felt like we were like on some kind of wild trip, and we were doing this book, and especially at one time, I think at one point, like, because I was also doing conventions at one point, so I'm like inking pages in Poland, scanning them at scanning bureaus to send them over to the colorist in Canada. It was just wild, and but so much fun. And so, anyways, the book is basically, I call it like a Rorschach test of a story, because everybody I've encountered who's enjoyed the book gets a different feeling or a different experience from the book. It's I think people tend to imprint on the story a little bit, as much as I did when I read it as well. So yeah, I saw it as this one man's journey, basically trying to break free of his cycle, is what it meant for me. And I saw it as maybe someone like Jim trying to break into or out of the cycle of doing this indie stuff and break into the bigger Hollywood stuff with his Muppets or whatever it might be. And yeah, it was just a joy to put it on paper and have it be part of the Henson family catalog, basically. You know what I mean? So proud of that work, and yeah, and that it took me on a wild journey for 10 years with all the recognition I received from it, and just, you know, through whether it was Marvel work or other companies as well, and even continuing to do more work with Archaea as well, the publisher, over the years.
Right, the original publisher. They've
Yeah.
since merged with Boom.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
kind of became like Boom's Vertigo in a sense.
Kind of, yeah. Though I'm not sure how much they release through the imprint anymore. I did the book Jane through, which is an adaptation of Jane Eyre with Aline Brosh McKenna, who was the screenwriter of Devil Wears Prada, and which was also an interesting experience. But that was the last project I did with them as that imprint.
Okay.
And, which was also a lot of fun. It was, but once again, a totally different kind of a story. You know, a romance story and set in New York, basically. So, yeah.
That's cool. That's amazing. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no. I've done superheroes, romance, psychedelic, you know, you name it. I've got it on my repertoire, basically, here. You know?
Well, I think one of the reasons why Tale of Sand can be interpreted in so many ways is there's no dialogue, and it's such a lyric approach to comics.
Mm-hmm.
And it every now and then, man, you need a silent comic to remind people the heavy lifting that truly the art does, but also to let a story kind of breathe.
No, I agree. Like, I love,
you can get lost in the images, and again, as we know, and as smarter people than myself would describe it, like Scott McCloud, the reader controls the pacing of the story.
Yes, very much so.
And without the dialogue, it even gives you more of an opportunity to slow down.
Yeah.
And really experience it all. And that's not only the images that you chose to convey the story, but really that does kind of play into that kind of easy lyric psychedelic vibe and everything.
Yeah, it was. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I've had people over the years go, "Oh, it's a great book, but it's really fast to read because there's no words." So I could just see them skimming it. You know what I mean? Whereas other people, they're like, they dive in and they're like, I just immerse myself for hours in the story. And so it's funny how different people will engage in the book. And yeah, I definitely tried to make it like a kinetic lyrical experience, because the script itself that Henson wrote, like, he made so many notes regarding music in the script.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He was very much in how he was very much into how sound and color related in moving pictures or animation. And it was an interesting, on my part, it was an interesting job to try to tackle taking something that had all these notes about sound into a quiet medium, which has absolutely no sound at all, right? So I tried to create the sound through panel arrangements and the palette of the book, basically. So, like, I actually even had, like, on when I was coloring the book with the few colorists that were, Ian Herring was the main colorist on it, but there was a few other ones, and I myself colored a bunch of pages as well, where I had the entire book up on my computer. You could see every page lined up, and it actually looks like a kind of a visual color concert. You'll see the color kind of going through it like a concerto, if you will. And we did that on purpose to try to create a flow through the rise of color, the lack of color, and all this stuff. Try to convey that music, like you said. So, yeah, very much an amazing, just to also, like you said, play with the medium and do something that is not the norm to show what you can do with the medium. You know what I mean?
100%.
You know,
Absolutely, man.
and
No,
oh,
continue.
no, I was going to say, like, the last note I was going to say is because I loved silent comics growing up. One of my favorites as a kid, I can't remember the issue number, but it was a G.I. Joe issue with Snake Eyes, Scarlet, and I think, Shadow, what was his name? White Shadow? Black, Storm Shadow. And yeah, they're like, but and it was like one of my favorite comics as a kid. I would just leaf through that thing to no end because it was a completely silent issue, but it gave me everything I wanted as a kid, and that's the kind of joy you can do with comics with no words whatsoever.
See, it being older, for me, it was the Steranko silent sequence in that one issue of Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, okay,
that ends with a romantic moment with him and the Contessa. And the great thing is the last panel is a shot of Fury's gun in his holster. And I think he's trying to tell us something with
yeah.
I've never asked Jim specifically. But,
I'll have to look that up. That's amazing.
But was Tale of Sand supposed to be an animated film or a live action film?
A live action film.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. It was funny because when I was working on the book, I was trying to imagine who he might have cast back in the day for the character, you know. And so that's kind of what I used. So like a lot of the main characters in the book, I kind of referenced a lot of I guess Silver Age actors, basically, whether they were film or television actors. I'm kind of blanking on who. It's been a while now since I've thought about it, so I can't quite remember who. But I think the main guy I actually referenced a younger. Who's the actor from Death Wish?
Young?
Yeah. The original Death Wish movie series.
Yeah, Bronson, obviously.
Yeah. His younger version, like a younger version of him.
Oh wow! Sure.
Yeah, because he was in a TV show about a news journalist. I can't remember the name of the show.
That would be Man with the Camera, sir.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and I watched that show around the time I was working on the book, and I was like, "This is Mac, the guy from Tale of Sand." So that's why I kind of referenced. Yeah.
I love watching 50s and early 60s Charles Bronson.
Oh yeah,
he was a great character actor, and
he was
Great Escape. I mean, he's amazing in the Great Escape.
Oh yeah.
You know, did Steve or anyone commission any sort of soundtrack to accompany Tale of Sand?
No, I don't think anybody did. I know there was they toyed around with trying to actually make it into a movie after the book came out. So they had a pitch circulating Hollywood. But I think it was still too weird for anybody. And it was funny because they were trying to add a bit of normalcy to it. So they're trying to ground it in our reality or, you know, our world. And I kept telling Steven, I was like, it loses its charm the moment you try to make sense of it. You have to like just go with it as some psychedelic experience. And that's it. Don't ground it in, you know, like some guy's leaving a party and in Hollywood or something, and he goes on a trip. It's like, no, this is the trip. You just start in the trip, and that's it, basically. But when I was working on it, I mean, I definitely had my own playlist while working on it, whether it was a lot of jazz or electronica or a lot of fusion stuff, which I listened to as well. So I definitely had my own soundtrack while working on it, which I do with a lot of projects when I work on them.
You got to create it and put it on Spotify, man. I always tell...
That's true, yeah.
Dave Gibbons did, wasn't it now I'm blanking, the mod book that he made it for Vertigo.
Yeah, The Invisibles?
The Invisibles.
Not The Invisibles. Oh, no, I know the one you're talking about. I know was it Philip Bond who did the artwork? Was that, or the covers at least?
Philip might have done the covers, but Dave did the stories. And
okay.
Too. Shame on me.
No, I can picture them in my head, and it's been a while.
But I love talking to Dave about the mod music scene because he was part of it. It was like, you know,
oh wow, that's cool.
Music fan, and
Yeah.
Something and everything. I'm pretty sure it was the originals, but I could be wrong. But
That makes
regardless,
sense. I kind of remember the logo. Yeah.
I'm always
Yeah.
like, Dave, you got to make a mod
That's pretty cool.
playlist.
That's a great idea. Maybe I
You
should
know, and
dive
you got to do that for Tale of Sand, man.
I think that might be
great,
fun.
Jamie.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Because I've actually picked up comics over the years. Like I couldn't tell you which ones, but I remember some of them having like a playlist in the back in the letters page saying, "We suggest listening to these tracks while you're reading."
Kieran and Jamie McKelvey did that with their series.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. Yep. So I think it's a great idea. You know, nothing better to have a comic book on the floor and just have a soundtrack playing out in the room.
And that's truly, man. A lot of the images in Tale of Sand. And I was going to say this again earlier, just being a kid who grew up on vinyl, that was the great. And by the way, I wasn't like, huffing airplane glue or smoking pot when I was doing this, but truly you would just, so much of like Pink Floyd and bands like that, or Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and you'd hear this amazing music and you'd open up the album and you'd have this incredible graphic art.
Yeah.
You really would get lost in the images and the music and stuff. And again, even straight, it was a great experience.
No, I agree. Like I remember, I grew up on vinyl as well, and I think it added to the experience of the music because you put it on the turntable, you put the needle down, and then you were mesmerized for whatever that was, the 20 minutes or 15 minutes per side,
right?
And you're opening up that album, you're looking through the art, the pictures, the lyrics, maybe whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And I found once we went away from that tactile experience with music, like when you're just downloading it now as an MP3,
digital, yeah.
I feel like it lost a bit of like I pay less attention almost, sadly, like because I'm not sitting there and enjoying the moment. It's just I flick it on and go do whatever it might be. So it's an interesting thing.
Working in music radio as I did for part of my 30 years in broadcasting, I really saw the transition from analog music to digital. And as great as digital is and all the advantages that digital gives you, it is a flatter sound.
Yeah.
And it's improved over the years, but still something is missing. And truly, vinyl could capture a strum of a guitar or even a bow across, violin or viola or whatever. And you are there. You are feeling it.
Yeah.
And that's just gone in this digital age. Do you feel like there's any sort of loss when we consider where comics have come from? Where did I put my pipe? I can't believe
it. Should have brought mine there.
Well, but really, again, when we were kids, comics were printed on newsrag. It was that cheaper paper.
Oh, yeah.
The color separation wasn't as good. The color separation.
Yeah.
And as things have gotten better, the paper quality's gotten better. Or now, goddamn, you look at a comic on a tablet and the art is amazing and stuff. Is there anything you feel like is missing as an artist?
It's weird. It's interesting because it offers up like having comics on digital platforms, whether nowadays it's like Webtoons or Tapas or one of these other places, Comixology.
Yeah.
It offers you opportunity to do interesting things. So like I knew like when I did some early webcomics work with like Butternut Squash is another comic I did with a buddy of mine, and we would attach MP3s to the comic. So like when the comic came up in the individual's inbox or their browser, the MP3 would start playing and give you a soundtrack for that comic. So I think it offers you interesting opportunities, whether it's the infinite scroll or animations or whatever it is. Yeah. But there is something about the tactile, just like sitting on the floor with a comic book that I don't know. I still collect old like pulp novels from the 50s and 60s, right? And I just like you open it, you crack it open. There's the smell of the old paper,
moldy paper, yes.
You know what I mean, or whatever it is. But there's something I think personal about that tactile experience that I think, for me, anyways, obviously each to their own, but for me, it's a little bit lacking on the digital spectrum. And as a guy who did web comics for years, I loved it for the immediacy of connecting with your audience. But at the end of the day, I'd love to have anything I create, I'd love to have it in a book form that I can share and goes on a shelf and You don't have to fire up a computer or a phone to read it. It's just there. You can enjoy it whenever you want. If there's no power and all your batteries are dead, you can still by candlelight read a comic book. And to be honest, I think I could be wrong on this as well, but I feel like, because I know I've experienced this a little bit, especially during the pandemic, the screen fatigue a little bit, where I think more people are less interested in spending more and more time in front of the computer. Book sales went up over the pandemic.
Yes.
All kinds of things like that. I think there is a charm to it. Sitting on your couch with a book over a tablet shining in your face is a very different experience. So I know it's a little bit backwards, but as we were talking about records, vinyl still lives. Vinyl sales have had some of their best years.
It's been amazing. The revival of vinyl.
Yeah.
And the reappreciation of vinyl.
Oh, yeah.
Again, as an old fart, it really does kind of warm my heart.
No, it's amazing. I buy new vinyl. I go through old bins at the used record shops. I pick up old records, and I love it because it's a very different sound, and it brings a warmth to the space that you're in. So, I think as much as we're moving forward in the digital spectrum, I think there's always going to be a place for whether it's vinyl records, books, or whatever it might be. There's something there with that one-on-one experience that I think the tablet or the phone can't give you, really.
As you buy old pulps, it's great to hear, because I'm a big fan of that stuff too, and especially the cover work and also the spot illustrations within the old things like that. Yeah, God, I believe Tasham had a book of just Men's Adventure magazine.
Oh, really?
From
wow.
Norman. I can't think of.
Norman Rockwell.
Not Norman Rockwell.
Okay.
God damn it, I can't think of the guy's name, but just these amazing covers and such great exploitation.
Oh my God!
Scenes of
it's
mad
ridiculous.
Scientists and
the
poor chick strapped down, whatever. And yet, I'm sorry, everybody. I know they're very
dated,
but that was the era, and I can't deny my appreciation for the art and stuff like that. So
that's what lured me in. It was like Robert McGuinness covers are
massive fan.
And that's what kind of lured me in. I loved his artwork, and then I was like, I was at a used bookshop, and I picked up a few, and I was like, and I think they're the Michael Shane books. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those.
Oh no, I'm a huge paperback detective fan, and Mike Shane is one of the guys. Absolutely.
So the Fiery Redhead is one of my favorites, and basically, I was like, I bought it for the cover, but then I sat down and read it, and I was like, I fell in love right there. And now I think I'm about 30 or 20 novels shy of a complete Michael Shane collection.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm constantly going to old pulp places, and
was that Reed Handley or who
it was a pen name. What was his name now?
I'll look it up. It's not. And while you're thinking, I'll fill the silence and say Norman Saunders.
No, Norman Saunders. Okay, I have to look him up. I'm not familiar with his
you'll
work.
love it. You'll love it. It's such classically iconic from the 40s to the early 70s kind of these covers and stuff. And the Potboiler stories. I mean, Mario Puzo came from that environment.
Yeah.
As far as writers and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, there's some great stuff there.
All right, now I'm going to look up Michael. I gotta look it up. I bought years ago. I bought this amazing anthology of paperbacks, and it was called The Great American Detective, and it was a great collection of short stories. Mm-hmm. It is Brett Halliday. Brett
Halliday, that's right. Yeah.
So oh my God, I mean, just great. Hammett and
Dashiell Hammett and like
Chandler and all, and one of my favorites is Stewart. And now shame on me, I can't think of his last name, but it's Hildegard Withers.
Okay.
And the cop, I can't remember the cop's name, but she was kind of a Miss Marple elderly woman that had a Piper is the name of the cop.
Okay.
And just would come in and solve crimes, and She worked with this police detective. And the movies from the early 30s are amazing. It's Edna May Oliver as Hildegard, and James Gleason, who you've seen in a million movies.
Yeah,
is the cop, and it's so great because it was made by one of the B movie studios.
Okay,
and these guys, these people would be great supporting actors in A-list movies with Jimmy Stewart and Cary Grant and the like.
For sure,
But on these B movies, they were the leads.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And amazing actors and stuff, and they're just great little potboiler. And I'm a sucker from the 30s through the going all the way up to Harper, the Paul Newman movie that is based on the Lou Archer novels and stuff.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure about that. I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh, you'll love that. Oh, it's great. It's like a McGinnis book come to life.
Oh, nice.
It really is.
Yeah, no, there's so much great stuff. Because I went down while I was doing that, I also went down the noir film rabbit hole. So all those B movies, like you're saying, like Laura is one of my favorites, Out of the Past, and you have all like Robert Mitchum or whatever it is, and you're just like, these guys, something. I know they're of an era, but I love them to death. They're so good.
For my birthday one year, a buddy of mine who's an artist redrew Mitchum's face for the Out of the Past classic poster with Janet Greer in the lingerie in the background and stuff. But he made my face instead of Mitchum's and everything. So it's me starring in Out of the Past.
Oh, that's amazing!
It's one of the greatest birthday presents I've ever.
Oh, that's amazing! I love it.
So dude, I am such a sucker for noir and pulp. And did you see Nightmare Alley?
I wanted to see that in the theater, and basically when it came out, all the theaters got locked down here because we had a big numbers went up or whatever it was. Sure. And I was like, son of a bitch. Like, I wanted to see that. A few of the guys have seen it here through like some streaming, like what do you call it, like illegal streaming services.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say, I think HBO Max has it or what.
Oh, it's on HBO Max, and I'm going to definitely look for it because I want to see that so bad. I've heard it's amazing. So
it's an interesting comparison to the Tyrone Power
the original one. Yeah, exactly.
No, it's really good. No, and I've always, I'm not a big horror guy, but I've always appreciated Del Toro as a filmmaker and love the Hellboy movies and everything else he does.
Yeah.
And really love Shape of Water. Shape of Water was amazing and very deserving of Best Picture when it won and everything, as far as I'm concerned. But it was really, really impressive. I really, really enjoyed it.
So I've heard good things, so definitely going to find my way to it somehow, whether it's buying a Blu-ray or finding on streaming somewhere, basically. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Hey, Mama Deadhead wants you to know Lost in Space.
Hey, Mama Deadhead. Oh, nice. Lost in Space is a great. I'm a sucker for sci-fi. Crime and sci-fi are my two favorite things.
Sure. So I'm assuming the Netflix Lost in Space, obviously.
Yeah, it was an interesting remake. I was a huge fan of the original. It's very kitschy and dated. The original TV show. The movie's not so bad.
That's funny. The William Hurt movie.
Yeah. But the TV series was actually pretty good. For modern, streaming. I find streaming. I think they're cranking stuff out so fast. It's not all good. But this one actually kept my attention for 3 seasons, and it was a fun ride. So,
I hear you. Yeah, I can't believe. I really thought we had reached an oversaturation point of streaming channels.
Oh yeah.
No, there doesn't seem to be an end in sight.
No.
And I hear what you're saying. I mean, they really. I mean, they got to feed the beast. They need content.
Yeah, it's the content wars. Like I'm actually astounded how people have the time to watch as much as they do. Like I do like one series at a time, maybe 2 tops, and that's still squeezing in a lot for me. So when I have friends who are like, "Oh, have you seen this, and this that came out last month?" I'm like, I'm still catching up on The Sopranos from 9 years ago.
Between Word Balloon and this Monkeys project that I'm doing, I have trouble justifying putting aside 2 hours.
It's hard. Yeah.
And a lot of times I'd rather have a rerun that I know in the background, and that way I don't have to pay as much attention to it while I'm working and everything. So I get it, man.
No, because I know a lot of artists that work and they'll watch the new stuff while they work, which I can't do. As soon as it's something I've never seen before, I want to actually invest, sit down, and pay attention.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm one of the few that I know that I don't watch anything while working. Podcasts are more my bag, or just music, basically. You know.
I won't subject you to this for tonight, but are you a Star Trek person?
Certain eras. So I love the original series. I love Next Generation, or TNG, I guess as they call it.
Yeah.
And then it lost me around Voyager, but one of the guys here at the studio, Marcus Toe, is a huge Star Trek fan. So he's saying, he's like, you got to rewatch it, give it another chance. It's one of the best ones. So I'm like, okay.
I think I'm with you. I understand. I think a third of Voyager is really exceptional.
Okay.
I think a third of Voyager is very ordinary.
Okay.
And I think a third of Voyager is not that good. But he had 7 seasons.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna
22 episodes a season. It's like you're gonna have some misfires.
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, I love DS9. DS9 is my favorite.
That's what he said. He's like, I actually watched. I didn't watch the whole run of DS9. I think I maybe lasted 3 or 4 seasons. I'm not sure how many, but I should go back really and just give it another go, basically, because I loved a lot of the characters. It was just one of those. I think at the time in my life also when it was on, I was just like, I was like, I'm off gallivanting now. I'm going to the nightclubs. I'm doing different things.
Sure.
It's whatever it is. But yeah, I'm more of I grew up on Star Wars more, but Star Trek definitely has a place in my heart, being, as the elderly the 2 elderly sci-fi franchises on the block, basically.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and I think, Star Trek was more science fiction.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Star Trek and Star Wars is more, fantasy and
everything. Yeah, space opera and science fiction, basically. Yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Mama has another comment. She watches reruns when she works too. She must have listened to Criminal Minds in the background like 20 times a piece.
Oh, wow. Okay. I have to check that out. That sounds interesting. I love crime podcasts as well, so I'm always looking for new stuff. Recommendations are welcome, because I'm not the most savvy sometimes, and I'll just kind of go through my favorites basically repeatedly sometimes. So
that's hilarious, man.
Yeah.
Well, Klaatu is again, that's volume 4 of the Raid anthology. 3 weeks left in the campaign.
Yes.
Help the boys and girls out so that they can trick up their
please do. Yes.
Make it even prettier.
Yeah.
And absolutely. What else have you got coming up, Ramon?
Oh, well, right now we're going to be relaunching Stillwater, which is basically
Oh, shame on me too. Oh my God, you and Chip, please let's.
Yeah.
Can we talk for a minute about Stillwater?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, of course.
Sorry, man. Truly,
no, it's quite all right.
Bring it up as well. No,
we got off on crime books and pulp tangents,
but truly, man, and it's so great to talk to you, because I've talked to Chip about the series as well.
Oh, nice.
Very interesting, weird in the best way.
Yeah.
Series. And I really, it was so unconventional and really took me by surprise in the best ways.
Yeah, I know. Chip has been great. Chip approached me to work on the project with him, and once again, I love genres, and it's very much, I kind of correlate it to a Twin Peaks kind of vibe, where it's just a weird small town, and but on the surface looks completely ordinary, basically. And it was a definite what's the word I'm looking for? An interesting exercise in storytelling as well, because I wanted to try to convey the ordinary as much as possible, to the point where it looks like even the panel repetition and so when things do go crazy and I break format a little bit, it becomes jarring to the reader in the sense. So I very much stick to a panel grid, a 9-panel grid, and very structured format till something weird or bizarre happens, right? And so for those who don't know, basically Stillwater is the story of a small town where basically within the confines or the parameter of the town's borders, if you will. People live. They're immortal. They're gifted, or you could say cursed, with immortality. And basically, this is kind of like a very realistic look at how people would react, especially in a small town, which is very like insular often, and a little bit gossipy. Everybody knows everybody. How that would affect a small community, to almost prison-like way where they're not allowing the residents to leave because they don't want people to find out. They don't want to be the subject of the next CNN report or put under a microscope or whatever it might be. So as the series progresses, martial law kind of comes into place, and factions divide and stuff like that. So up to this point, the second trade just came out last month, I believe, or might have been last month, and basically that's the first 12 issues. And then I actually have it right in front of you. Conveniently enough, we have The Escape, which is a great one-shot coming out, basically featuring work by a variety of artists: Jason Liu, Sue Lee, Ethan Young, and a variety of writers kind of telling their own hot takes on Stillwater. So there's a lot of great art in here by a lot of great creators. And basically, I do a few of the interstitial story moments.
Sure.
But basically, this is a little peek into the town through different eyes, basically, other creators. And it's going to be on the shelves, I believe, in a week or two, I think. Or unless I got my comp a little bit late. I usually get them before they go on the shelf.
Sure.
And then we're restarting the series, I believe, in May. Solicitations just began for the third arc of the story of Stillwater, basically. So yeah, I'm excited to return to it. Chip has got some great ideas for the series. He's basically taking his experiences growing up in a small town and elevating them up to 11 in a bizarre way. So yeah, please, if people haven't checked it out, please check it out and really enjoy a trip down a bit of a horror mystery sort of series, basically.
I guess Mama says it comes out next Wednesday.
There you go. So yeah, next Wednesday, March 16th, on the shelves.
There you
Check
go,
it out. A lot of great creators. New fresh faces, new faces, old faces. But yeah,
that's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
And Dante has a recommendation for you. Try checking out Killer Psyche from Wondery, the podcast network.
Oh, okay.
Retired FBI profiler does a case a week, breaks down the case from her experience as an agent. It's an educational podcast at times on how she would break a case down.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Okay. I'll definitely check that out.
There you go, man.
Interesting.
Excellent.
I got so many recommendations, from films to books.
Always here to help.
Good. I love it.
No, dude, seriously, congratulations.
Thank you, man.
Best on Raid, Volume 4.
Thank you very much.
And then again, 3 weeks left in that Kickstarter campaign.
Yep.
And yeah, Jesus, Stillwater is so fucking great. And
thank you.
God, I truly, man, I had a brain fart that I didn't think of it earlier, but we
it's okay. It's okay.
We got it in, and that's good.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Everybody, you heard me talk to Chip when the series was just getting started and stuff, and now you get Ramon's perspective.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's been a joy to work with Chip, and I wish I could allude to more things I'm working on. I do have a great book with Kyle Higgins. I don't know if you know Kyle Higgins.
Of course I know Kyle, absolutely.
And speaking to our early conversation of Chicago jazz, it's a walk down jazz, a jazz historical kind of series. So
wow,
yeah,
man, I hope he's got a good friend, musician, a local musician, Joe.
Oh yeah, he's helping on it.
That is great to hear, man.
Yeah.
When Kyle and Rod Rice did Cowl.
Okay, yeah.
It was about Chicago superheroes during the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Joe helped out on that.
Oh,
and
nice.
helped kind of create a soundtrack.
Oh, wow.
No, that's excellent, man. Well, hell, when that's ready to be announced, that's something that me and Kyle need to talk about.
Oh, for sure. Happy to.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
And again, Mama, very excited about it. That's good to hear.
Nice. I like the enthusiasm.
Absolutely. Well, there you go, everybody. Ramon Perez kicking ass with great stuff from the Raid Studio and their anthology and Stillwater, and soon to come other projects as well. Yep. So, dude, keep it up.
Thank you so much, man.
Great to see you.
You as well.
Hope to see you in person sooner than later.
Yeah, hopefully we'll catch you in Chicago and check out the Green Mile?
Green Mill.
Green Mill. Okay,
So either me or Higgins, or really maybe the two. Maybe I'll.
There you go.
I
like it.
Joe too, because it's still a great jazz club.
Nice. No, I'd love that. That'd be amazing.
Absolutely,
Awesome.
man. There you go. All right, we're gonna have to fire that up. Thanks a lot for watching. Let me tell you what's coming up this week. I'm recording tomorrow with Brad Meltzer. We're not going to do it live, but he's on his book tour for his new novel, The Lightning Rod, which came out yesterday. So we're going to talk about that and a bunch of other things. And also, not a confirmation yet, but both Josh Williamson and Kari Randolph among the upcoming Word Balloon guests. So just want to keep you in the loop of what's happening here. And very close to dropping the first couple episodes of the Monkeys documentary. And when that happens, don't worry, I promise you'll hear about it here on Word Balloon.
Okay. Nice.
So until then, everybody, thanks a lot. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy.